honestly, you never know. Well, unless I had some magic crystal ball, then I would be able to predict the future and kind of see what I'm doing for myself. However, what does it mean to you if it all works out? I mean, that just varies from person to person of what you really want in life. You'll never know unless you try, and at least you'll be able to say that you tried and failed rather than not trying at all. At least that's what I'm going to think about, because if I don't try, then what was kind of the point of all of this? Personally, this year, I've been trying to see if it works out and just kind of see where everything is going. I did make a couple videos about trying to pursue my dreams. You don't really understand how much work you have to put in and how much effort and time it actually takes for you to be quote unquote successful. However, I'm not overthinking my direction, because the more I think about the direction of what I want to do and where I want to be, it just gets a little more complicated. And then I just get like paralysis, and actually, I don't put in any work. So, this is kind of what I call the art of fucking around and finding out. Because what is the point of not finding out or not, doing anything? Because I'd rather just kind of, do things on my own accord and see where things takes me. A lot of people that you look up to as well had no idea if any of this was going to work out for them, but they put in the work and met the right kind of people. If it has been done before, then I can, assume that I can possibly do it. And of course, things are going to be easier for some other people, just based off how what cards they were dealt with life and stuff like that. I'm assuming that most people can do most things and maybe do it even better. Everyone has always thought about quitting, even everyone above you, even me. I'm a small creator, and none of this has made me any kind of money or generated any kind of fan base. At least with this channel, I have some like fan base with my music and my clothing and my art, but it does take a very long time, and it takes a lot of work, effort, and money to put into something like this. I mean, this channel is basically free. This is kind of completely different, but I'm talking about my other things. This channel for me basically is just journaling, and to kind of keep me in check and to kind of keep me like consistent and doing things. And this is just, stress relieving for me. It is hard to understand if you think you are wasting your time, because it definitely crosses my mind when I do make videos and do stuff like this, just because I'm not really getting any results out of it. But if you do enjoy something, then it will be a lot easier. And if you're also passionate about it and like obsessed with it, then you won't really care as much, and you will go out of your way to put in the effort and try and find new things and see if you can, make money, get results, get changes, and all that stuff. In all honesty, though, you realize how many people do not care as much as you do about this. So you kind of have to be a low key psychopath about things like this, because you have to be overly passionate and weirdly obsessed with it to the point that you will cut off people who are getting in your way, or if you think they're kind of just not part of what you want to do. You are okay with being lonely and working like crazy amount of hours like every single day. That's just kind of how it is when you do things like this, and that's just something you have to like, swallow the pill, I guess. And I'm just going to understand that you can't care about every little thing just because that's not sustainable. And the uncertainty part of this is the hardest thing, just because you generally need something to kind of keep you a little bit balanced. If you do need to work a day job, then that's probably what you'll need to do, just because not everyone can just be like, oh, I'm going to go quit my job and go do YouTube, because that's not normally how it's going to work. Because if you have no idea what you're doing, then it's probably going to take a long time and you don't know if it's going to work out. So, the uncertainty part of this, though, is what actually kind of makes this fun. That's just kind of how life is. And honestly, the hardest part for this is actually staying consistent. And it's weird to understand that if you stay consistent, that your entire life can change, because there are people who have changed your life through content creation and social media and all that stuff, or whatever it is you need to do, or if it's like a business. And the only question is kind of, when is that going to change for me? Because on this channel, I have made about 40 videos so far, actually a little bit less than 40, and I'm only at 70 or so subscribers, which is not a lot of how much effort I put into this. And I have about 100 watch time hours out of 3,000, and I need 500 subscribers to monetize. Over time, I can see the compound that is actually like, growing this channel, but it's just very, very slow. And I've been pretty consistent with it with little results or change. I generally make a few videos a week. I don't really know how much I actually make a week, just because I don't know. Since ever since I was unemployed, I didn't really know what my schedule was. And I did have one, but it was a little more all over the place because once you have a day job, you kind of know what your routine looks like and all that stuff. And you think it's hard to stay consistent when you barely see results because it definitely is. However, all of that could change with just a few more videos, and you actually never know. That's what sparks my interest and keeps me going. That unknown is what keeps life interesting. Ever since you have a day job, you're so, used to routine and comfortability that, putting yourself out there might change things, and then you don't really want to do that because it's your brain likes comfort, it likes habits, and that's I totally understand that, but I need life to be more interesting, and I can't just be doing the same thing over and over every day. And well, I can do things over and over again, but it just kind of depends on what it is. There's things that I can do a lot easier than, like a day job or something. But it is interesting though because you never know if your video will reach like the right audience, or if you make music, like if a song reaches the right person, or if your business is going to be profitable if you're doing like e-commerce or anything like that, or if we started making art and people started buying it. And these are kind of things that I just have personal experience with, and it's been fun, but it's also been stressful. Another thing is that it opens new doors for yourself and you get to see where it leads. It may feel like a maze because you have no idea where you're going or if there is going to be a way out, but it's better than living an ordinary day life for the rest of your life. Another thing that we do as humans is that we just predict the worst like all the time. I used to be an overthinker quite a lot and like a perfectionist before I even started all of this, and it like paralyzed me and like made me not even start half the things I wanted to do to this day. Um, just because we predict the worst in ourselves, we love to create problems that don't even exist for ourselves. And I used to do this a lot, but I somehow got out of it, and I don't really know how I really did. Maybe I can try and make a video on that. I guess I just didn't see the point of putting energy into a problem that doesn't exist yet. We love to create problems for ourselves for no reason. It's like watching a series of Love Island or any episodes of that. If you have a girlfriend, you probably know what I'm talking about when you're forced to watch these stupid drama shows. People just love watching other people's drama just for I'm assuming they just like to shut down their brain, I guess, or that's like the best way they can do it. I don't really understand the appeal to these shows, but I would figure I'd throw this in there. It's just kind of strange how we already create a future for ourselves before we've even experienced any part of life, and that future doesn't even exist either. So, what is the point of putting all these thoughts and energy into something like that? The only thing that I figured out is that the only thing that exists is now, and the fact you haven't really questioned your own thoughts is kind of concerning. So, I would suggest reflecting inward, become aware of your thoughts, but don't become your thoughts. Even those fears, they will probably never happen. Everything we've been worried about will just probably never happen. And that's just the reality of it. Every awkward moment, mistake, and decisions are just kind of a part of life, and they never really turn out how you imagine them, anyways. Some things do happen, and maybe you can't predict the future by doing stuff like this, but most of the time, it's just you living in your head, and you're basically just wasting your energy and preparing for basically nothing. Another thing that I've kind of also noticed with myself is just have an imagination. You have to be a little bit delusional to have like a crazy future for yourself. At least I definitely do. And it does definitely has like its perks and stuff. The reason I would say to be a little delusional, have a big imagination, is because you need to see your future self, and that future self needs to be different from where you are currently. Like, don't picture yourself as the same kind of person with the same skills, the same fears, and everything else that's holding you back. So just be imaginative and understand that this is going to take a while, and your life, I don't know, it's just a whole part of it. It takes a long time that people don't actually realize, and how many years that go into stuff like this. That version of you in a year though can be completely different from where you were before. So your imagination is kind of just up to you. You can be as delusional as possible. However, that delusion needs to be backed up by work, because delusion without work is just basically daydreaming. And I love to daydream, but if you don't put in the work for your delusions, you're just going to be disappointed all the time. And that's something I had to realize for myself as someone who is creative, and I get a lot of ideas for like YouTube videos, content, art, music, streetwear. It's just something I needed to focus on. It was that like I needed to put in the work for this, because like if I don't put in the work, I'm never going to go anywhere. And this is just basically doing the exact same thing as just wasting energy. But these are just some things I've kind of noticed about myself, and I kind of just wanted to talk about it and make a video. Things can work out. Things have been working out for me very slowly. There are going to be obstacles. There's always going to be obstacles. There are always going to be setbacks that you cannot calculate. So the only time you'll actually figure out some of these things is if you actually start this stuff, because there are going to be problems that you didn't know about until you started. So that's just kind of the process of growth and building your life. You just do not know. And that is something you'll just have to get over. And the people around you also do not know. So that's probably why they're trying to hold you back. Or maybe not everyone's trying to hold you back, but a lot of people will not support you in the process of this. And that's just kind of how it is. I guess the only thing I can say is the future isn't written yet. So I would suggest you start writing. And thanks for watching, everyone. If you didn't make it this far, I almost have my full team that I wanted to make. I'm missing one Pokemon right now, and I know I got one in the last episode, and it's because I forgot about him in the PC. So I basically just want to train him and add him to the team. Got an Electrike, wanted an electric Pokemon. I thought about getting a Torkoal as well, but maybe in a different gameplay or something like that. The last Pokemon I really want to get in my team is a Dusclops, and I was trying to find it in a few episodes ago, but it just would not pop up in Mount Pyre for some reason. So I might have to do that in a different episode and hopefully get it later once I, raise my Electrike and get a Manectric and stuff like that. But as always, guys, check out the description, like, comment, subscribe if you really want to, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.